Morning. Here we are, Wednesday, January 29th, 2025. I'm Larissa. This is my video diary. Yeah, time has come. Been drinking from my skull here. Looking at all the bullshit news. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I don't even give a shit about any of the news. I have no way of knowing what's true and what isn't true because there's so much spin in media and so many lies. And things are, you never even know if like the footage you're seeing is actually footage about the story that they're talking about, right? I've seen so many crisis actors, people I recognized from meeting on sets to do extra work in the Bay Area for things, you know, oh, that, I just don't, particularly when you're looking at news coming out of LA, right? They're gonna do like they did with Santa Rosa and blame those fires on PG&E, and it's just so that they can redistribute money. Because if they do that, PG&E or whatever is a public utility, right? And there's all kinds of money in the budget that is in weird places, right? That they can't move around easily, right? So they'll use this as a way of distributing money, right? It's a big laundering. Yeah. And in the meantime, so long as they have burned out the foundations of houses and stuff when they rebuild, then they'll be categorized in new tax brackets. So as long as you in California, as long as you have the original foundation and you're rebuilding on original foundation, you can grandfather your whatever your property tax was. But if they burned out your foundation, and you have to lay a new foundation for your structure, then you're beholden to the current rate of property tax. Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm. It's all kinds of bullshit. Yeah. So like the Algerian ivy that has caused such a problem in forests and stuff, that it was brought in to take the place of regular grounds maintenance in parking medians and things. Um, Cal Caltrans planted it um, because they lost funding. They lost funding because of ballot initiatives. They lost funding, and their department money was moved to start different social programs that California has. Right. Yeah, so they took monies out of maintenance, grounds maintenance, and infrastructure maintenance, and moved and other places too, but that's where a big chunk of it came from. They had to eliminate all kinds of grounds jobs. They used to have a lot more people out regularly, weed whacking, trimming trees, flowers, blah 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 blah, right? Like there's those the oleander, the genetically engineered oleander that you see in a lot of places that fit in medians. Those were purchased and planted in uh and this Algerian ivy. Well, the Algerian ivy in particular is really bad, right? It's really, really bad because it kills trees and it's all over the place now, and it's caused all these problems in the ecosystem in forests and things. But I think they're trying to clear out California. I think the government is. I think they want people to move away from the coast, um, or have to, pay current property taxes. Um, California's greedy. The state is very, very greedy. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think they want to strip mine along the coast, um, and also move people away from the coast because there's just like you can't stop the erosion that's happening. Like we watched there was a video the other day, it was a news clip of they were interviewing somebody out up in Pacifica, right? So since we've moved to California over 20 years ago, 25, 24, 24 and a half, 25 years ago, um, the erosion along the coast in Pacifica has been a story, right? And when I did my first Reiki 1 and Reiki 2 attunements with Ashana Solaris, she was living in Pacifica at the time. She does breath workshops out at Shasta. She's in the Woo community. Um, anyway, she did her workshop, her Reiki 1 and 2 workshop at her home, which was in Pacifica, and her house was for sale at the time. And they were moving out of the area because of the erosion issues. Now, she wasn't even one of the houses that was directly on the coast, but those neighborhoods come right up to like a bluff that overlooks the ocean. Her neighborhood was like on one of those bluffs, but she wasn't on the very edge. She didn't have one of the oceanfront properties, but you could still see the ocean from her backyard. And they were selling their house to get out of that neighborhood. Yeah, so I mean, like this issue has been going on for a long time. It's not something new. It's just that people don't believe it's going to affect them or whatever, whatever it is. But there's entire communities that are are in the direct path of natural destruction. I mean, we saw it in Capitola, right, when the waves came in and washed up into the beach town there. The whole coast is has that potential um, for that kind of destruction. And I think they're just working. They're trying to move people away from the coast, right, to move people inland further. Yeah. And I also think that these fires serve another purpose. I mean, they have numbers of people listed as being killed, right? Particularly up in Santa Rosa and down in LA, I think there are unreported deaths of homeless people. I think it's similar to like what in Maui what happened. What was really interesting about Maui, like I talked to people who had ties to the homeless community or whatever. They were buying plane tickets. They were giving plane tickets to people, to homeless people, to go to Maui in the weeks before that fire, right? They're getting rid of people. They're getting rid of problematic people. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. It's just, everything money is so mismanaged in this state. The land resources are so mismanaged in this state. The stuff, the fire that happened at Moss Landing. Yesterday I took a little field trip. I went down to Moss Landing. I didn't like get out and walk around in Moss Landing. Well, I stopped at one little market down there, but um, I didn't stop at any of the little restaurants or anything that are there. There's a very small little community there, little town. But I did notice some things. So, like when you drive down the highway, just driving down the highway, if you didn't know there was a fire at that plant, you wouldn't be like, oh my God, look, there was a fire over there recently. What happened there? Like from the highway, it doesn't look. Yeah, I'll trade you.
Right?
Thank you. Take him with you.
Come on, Brody.
Brody, go with Daddy, please. Thank you. Right. So there's a bird sanctuary there, a nature preserve, the Elkhorn Preserve. And I've never gone and walked out on the preserve, but I know it's there. You can see it. And when you drive down the highway, when you drive down one, when you get in that area, there's always lots of birds, because it's a bird rescue, a refuge in particular. Kind of like, like Merritt is in Oakland. It's specifically for waterfowl, migrating waterfowl and other bird species. So there were no birds. There were no birds flying. Like you got about a mile before and a mile after the plant, you started to see birds again. But right there's like a 2 mile stretch, right? Where I didn't see any birds yesterday. And it was, a marked difference. The animals aren't there. And there was a news story last night that they're doing taking soil samples, and that there's a marked spike in heavy metals in the dirt right there. Well, that doesn't surprise me. Um, so lithium ion batteries is there's other metals that they use to make these things, other metals that are in these things, whatever. So they said that there's a spike in manganese, nickel, and cobalt. And cobalt's a scary that's a scary one, interesting one. It'd be interesting to know which isotope that it is, because there's an isotope of cobalt that sterilizes, right? So, if they use it in sterilizing, what is it? It's cobalt 3 257, 357, something. Anyway, they use it to sterilize medical grade plastics and things, right? Well, if it's sterilizing stuff for medical use, it'll sterilize anything that's around it. Um, so, all of that ground that's around that area there, besides being well, sir, what's your story? Why are you up here with me? What do you want? You can just lay down and be quiet. Um, Strawberries, artichokes, Brussels sprouts, collard greens, lettuces, kale. These are the things that grow in the fields, that are planted in the fields immediately around that plant, in the immediate fields, right? And they just put strawberries in the ground. They just put strawberries in the ground. So artichokes is the other thing I say, artichokes. It'll be interesting to see. So what happens with those crops, right? And there was nobody out in those fields. There wasn't even any equipment out in the fields. A bunch of fields that had just been turned, right? Recently, and there was nobody out working in them. It's like, whoa. Yeah. There were no birds anywhere. It was a little creepy. It was a little sterile looking. It was a little creepy. So there's manganese in the ground around here already. When it's one of the metals that's in the earth here. When you have well water, you have to have your manganese levels tested, and there's quite a bit of manganese in our water here. It's still within what's considered, safe to consume. Now, we don't drink the water that comes out of our tap. I'll use it in cooking sometimes, but Omar buys water for us to drink. We use it for bathing and washing and brushing our teeth and stuff like that. But we don't drink the water here. It tastes funny. It's not just manganese, there's sulfur and stuff too. Sulfur. There's titanium and aluminum in the ground here, and that's why I think they want to strip mine along the coast. And they want to move people in. They want to move people in more inland because of the erosion and because they want to strip mine. Yeah. Yeah. Excuse me, that robe does not smell. No, it does not. It mostly just hangs there for decoration. Mommy never wears that robe. I've worn it maybe twice in the last 6 months when I got out of the shower. It does not stink, mister. I got this kimono. It's hanging on my long mirror over here. It's not even really a kimono. It's a kimono-style robe. It is from Japan. My father brought it back one of the first times he went to go visit Japan. Anyway, it's hanging over there. That shithead, he went over there. He was like sniffing at it, trying to tell me it smells. It does not smell. It does not smell. What jerk. Ugh. He smells. He's mad because I told him he should go downstairs with his daddy. Oh my God. Yeah. So, but they didn't say anything about lithium levels, right? They were just talking about the manganese, the nickel, and the cobalt. Nickel is also known as German silver. Yeah. I've worked with nickel. Nickel is hard and it's dirty. It oxidizes really fast. Yeah, it corrodes. Turns your fingers green or black. Nickel, nickel silver, German silver. You know, it's also used. Nickel's also used in production along with titanium for solar panels. Mm, yeah. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what effect that cobalt has. And they, like I said, they haven't said what isotope of cobalt it is. They just said that there's cobalt spike. So I guess we'll see, won't we? Guess we'll see. Sterilize the earth around here. Fucking A. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I took that little field trip, went down there on a Moss Landing, stopped at a farmer's stand, got some vegetables and a couple pomelos, giant pomelos. Yeah, I went down to Carmel by the Sea, Neb shitted in Carmel. Yeah, passed out my magazine, saw some folks, visited saw some art, and did some wine tasting. You know, mostly just to kind of like network. And I mean, Carmel's an art town. They're full of art galleries and artsy fartsy stuff. You know, big rich bitch town. Um, yeah, so I was just chatting with other business owners down there, and it's interesting. Like down in Carmel, the business owners in Carmel are so much more open to conversation. Like up here in Santa Cruz, it's like nobody will even fucking talk to me. It's like, here, talk to the 18-year-old that works at my. It's like, okay, fuck you. So, you know, I get treated like shit everywhere I go. Just a stupid little gyp girl. A stupid gyp girl. Mentally unsound, stupid little bitch. She's probably retarded. Probably can't read. You know. Yeah, probably lies and steals. She's gonna spit all over my property. Mm, yeah. Subhuman. Subhuman gyp bitch. Yeah. So there's this one gallery I go into all the time, and they never have, like, whoever owns this place has a shit ton of money, right? Whoever's bringing these artists in from wherever they're, because it's always different. It's always different people, right? Like different. The bottom floor, the upstairs floor has, right stuff. There's stuff up there that's been up there for a long time, whatever. Um, they represent a number of different people, but then the bottom floor usually has exhibition, right? Something curated, as opposed to just, oh, this area of the wall has so and so, that area of the wall has so and so, kind of thing. And they never have anybody working there who knows a goddamn thing about any of the art. And, you know, oh, if you have any questions, okay. And they never have answers to my questions. Oh, well, if you want to read about the artist, here's this book. I'm like, well, how about you learn something about the fucking art, bitch, instead of just standing here and being skinny, right? Because that's what it is. They have everybody that works there, and this is like this in a lot of the places. They all have a certain look, and this one in particular, the owner of the gallery, like, the gal said that was working there yesterday, said that the gal that owns that gallery is an Armenian. She's like, oh, she's been here for 20 years. I'm like, this gallery has not been here for 20 fucking years. It's been here for about 4 years. Like, it changed hands a number of times. I've been in this space a number of times, and like, she must have thought that I was some idiot. I don't know, but nobody that works in this place is ever natural. Nobody has an American accent. Let's put it that way. I have no idea what their citizenship is, but nobody that works there ever has an American accent. And they talk to you when you're an American like you're an idiot and don't know anything about art, because that's the way Europeans are. Europeans think that all Americans are ignorant when it comes to art, and they treat us like that. Instead, that the German bitch that's at the Legion of Honor, the curator there, like her treatment of that space, and of the American public that largely comes in there is just insulting, and I find that a lot. Um, there's just like this attitude that like if you're European, you automatically come out knowing stuff about art, and and I always give everybody the benefit of the doubt. If you're working in, I used to work in a gallery and in college, and I had to know about the artwork. I had to learn about what was there. Plus, I was an art student, so like I had questions, and in this particular gallery, they don't put the dates for these paintings, and I was asking her about the dates, and I was asking about the dates because of the palette used, and and because you see trends, in color scheme, throughout genre, throughout history, whatever, and there are these paintings in there. I'm like, these look like 1980s paintings. They look very 1980s, and she's like, oh no, this is the last 10 years. I'm like, okay, I don't believe you. She's like, "Oh, the owner is here, and I do not know." And I'm like, "Okay." And then there are these other paintings that are in there that have been in there before, and they've been in there a while, and they've been paired in exhibition, curated exhibition with other paintings. And like when you come in, the one wall is the feature wall, and then the other wall, the back wall, is the one you're not quite when you come in the front door, you're not looking at this other wall, right? But it's in the main room, so that's like the secondary wall. So, like, the last time I was in, the stuff that was on the secondary wall was what was on the primary wall, and there was somebody else that was working there. And so I know from talking to that person that a lot of these paintings were done in the 60s and 70s, right? Some of them are contemporary, like in the last 20 years, but a lot of these paintings were 60s and 70s. And so I was asking her about this, and she's like, "Oh no, these are all new paintings." I'm like, "Really? They're new paintings?" I don't know. I don't know. It's just I feel like when you're selling when you're working someplace and you're selling something that is $35,000 a pop or more, you should fucking know something about it, right? It's not like you're at a grocery store and I don't know what that vegetable is, right? But even then, I think if you're working at the grocery store, you should know what the produce is that you sell. Ugh. If you're gonna sell anything, you should know your product. You really need to know your product. How the hell else are you gonna sell it? But they have this they bank on this aesthetic of some rich asshole is going to come into town with his fucking crazy ass sports car, and he doesn't care if the person selling the art knows anything about the art. It just cares if it's some cute little bitch, right? That's all. Right. Anyway anyway I just don't understand that. If you're selling shit that's tens of thousands of dollars, the person selling it should know something about it. Whatever. Whatever. Anyway. And she's like, "Oh, do you paint?" I'm like, "Sometimes." Mm, I don't know. I mean, there was nothing wrong with her. She wasn't rude or anything, you know? She wasn't, my complaint about her is not about her personality or her as a person. It's just that, like, she didn't know a goddamn thing about any of the art. It's like, you know, there's something in Armenian culture, evidently, looking at Kardashians, that is only about skin deep, right? I don't know. Whatever. I was telling her stuff about the paint. She's like, "Oh, that's good information to have." I'm like, "You fucking work here?" Oh my God. Super irritating. Super irritating. Yeah. One time I went in there, the gal that was working there, she was from, she told me where she was from. She was from like, Denmark or Norway or Finland. She was from a Scandinavian country. And I talked with her a little bit longer about just because she started asking me questions about things, and it turned out she didn't really know any. She didn't know anything about art. She had taken an art history class in college, and she was a lawyer. She had a law degree. Whether she was a lawyer or not, I don't know if she passed a bar anywhere, anything, but and she was younger than me. And then she was asking me all kinds of questions about the art. She's like, "Oh, that's so interesting." But she had like a script, right? Like what she said to me, like when I came in and wanted to talk about the art, I'm like, if was basically like the artist bio or the statement for the show, right? They were like, she had a couple catchphrases, you know, and so she was talking to me. I'm like, do you really know anything about this, or did you just read a review written about the exhibition or about the artist, and you're just regurgitating some phrases that you heard somebody else say, right? Did you have bullet points when you were told about the artwork? Yeah. Oh, I don't know. There was a bunch of there was a series of pieces in there that they were terrible. They were the featured or one of the one there were two artists on the featured wall. And the one artist they were like modern takes on religious icons, and they were like Picasso-esque faces, and they were so contrived. They were so contrived. I'm like, "Oh, yuck." And they had these super ornate frames, which of course they would, because if you're going to be riffing off of the idea of icon, everything has to be gold and ornate or whatever. But it was just like, these are terrible. These are terrible, terrible pieces. Oh, God. Yeah. Anyway, anyway, I enjoy looking at painting. I didn't see anything I liked yesterday. Well, that's not totally true. I saw a couple pieces. I'm like, oh yeah, I like this artist's work or whatever, but I didn't see anything that I was like, oh, I love that piece. I love it. I love it. I take it back. There's a pair of shoes I saw. Oh, I can't remember the designer's name or the name of the store, but they have this work of this designer, and they do handbags and shoes, and they're all handmade and everything. They're really beautiful. Um, yeah, you know, and the guys that work at that store are really nice. I like talking to them. Yeah, those guys are nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I got a couple bottles of wine, and I got a bunch of cheese, and not a bunch of cheese. I got a few wedges. There's a cheese place there. I went and tasted some weird cheeses. I said, give me the weirdest cheeses you got. He said, let's taste the weirdest cheeses you got. They weren't that weird. The stuff that had me taste, I'm like, that's not that weird. It was weird to him, the young kid that was working there. I'm like, oh, you don't have a culinary palate, so when I say give me something weird, you don't really know what I mean. But there were some interesting things. Like I'd never had a camel's milk cheese before, and tasted that. It was very rich, very very rich. They called it a feta, but I wouldn't have called it a feta. It was more similar to like a chèvre cheese than it was a feta, but creamier. I don't know. It was like tasted like a chèvre, but had a texture like a brie. It was in brine like feta. It was odd, but it was good. It was good. I didn't get any though. Um, Taste a bunch of other stuff too. Yeah, yeah. And then last night for dinner, I finally cooked that spaghetti squash. I did. I cooked it. Cooked it. Yeah, so I split it in half and stuck some butter in it and salted it and put in some garlic and onion powder and covered it, put it in a chafing dish or in a Corningware dish and covered it and baked it for 40 minutes at 425. And it got all soft, and you use a fork and you loosen it up. And then I had some tomatoes, and I chopped those up, and I had a little bit of Nebbiolo left over from a good nice bottle of wine I had a while back, but it oxidized, so now it's only really good for cooking. So I made a little tomato sauce, and so we put the sauce on top of the spaghetti squash, and then I air fried some tempeh bacon, and I got these big, beautiful bacon avocados yesterday. They're so sweet, and they're almost juicy. So I cut one of those in half, and we each got half of the avocado, and then I made a cucumber salad. It was cucumber and Kalamata olive and an onion with I mixed up dressing, used labneh and this lemon vinegar that I made, and made dressing, and then poured that over the avocado, and then sprinkled the plate with the tempeh bacon and one of the cheeses. One of the cheeses I bought yesterday is called Seascape. It was a local cheese that was made in Salinas. All the other cheeses I got were international cheeses. That one was the only domestic cheese that I purchased, and it was a local cheese. He like didn't want to cut local cheeses for me, but a lot of the stuff that they had that were local, like I know I've been to the creamery, I've had the Mount Tam, and you know all those I've been to all those creameries, and you can buy those at Whole Foods or whatever. But I got some interesting stuff. Yeah, so anyway, I put that cheese. It was kind of like it had a similar flavor to Parmesan, but it was soft. It was softer than Parmesan. It wasn't quite as hard as Parmesan, but it had a similar flavor profile. Similar flavor profile to Parmesan, which is why I used it. Yeah. Yeah. So I got some potatoes and leeks at the farm stand that I stopped at, and I was gonna make a potato leek soup today, but changed my mind. I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cook and then mash those potatoes and leeks together. And I think I might make potato leek pierogies, and because I also got cabbage, so I don't know. Might do some potato leek pierogies with like a soup and have the pierogies in the soup. Like if I make little ones, make little pierogies oh, those little Lithuanian pierogies that kind of look like raviolis, kind of thing, little round ones. I don't know, make little dumplings like that. I don't know, make little ones and stuff them with the potato and leek, and then one of those cheeses that I got. Those would be good. Yeah, yeah, make pierogies. I have sauerkraut down there. I could just do some potato and sauerkraut pierogies, but why do that? Do something a little different, Larissa. Do something a little different. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, might do that. Or I got some tofu down there. I could do like tofu katsu. Do like a tofu katsu with a shredded cabbage slaw with rice. Very Japanesey. And just make a dipping sauce to go with it. I could do that. I could. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I make tonight. I don't know. I don't know. Or maybe we'll just clean out the fridge leftovers, because there's some leftovers in there. I just tell Omar to eat some leftovers, and I'll cook tomorrow or something. Although tomorrow's Thursday and I'm open, so I won't be doing that. So maybe I need to cook today. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll just make a pot of vegetable soup. Maybe. I want to go into the gallery and work. Into the studio. 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 Yeah. Because I'm not a crazy rich bitch, right? I can't afford to have space down at Carmel. One guy's talking. He's like, "Why don't you come down here and have space down here?" And we were chatting it up about, what it's like. I don't know, having an art business up here. He's like, "Well, why don't you come down here?" I'm like, "I'd love to have a space in Carmel." I just can't afford it, number 1, and I said, "That's a bit of a drive every day." I said, "It's not just my gallery, it's my studio, it's my workspace." He's like, "Oh, you know, it's a little different, right?" Like, what I'd be able to afford down there would be, like, the size of a bathroom, if I was lucky. A broom closet. And we looked at spaces down there, they're very, 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 very expensive. Very, very, very expensive. Yeah. Anyway. Anyway. Goodness gracious. Anyway. Finish my coffee. Go make some breakfast. Who knows? Maybe I'll make pierogies before I go.